I mean, we're a G7 nation, and we've just transitioned power seamlessly. Just
Yeah.
incredible to see that up close, and the gracious nature in which, thankfully, this campaign was fought. No side was given, none was asked for, but I've been fascinated to watch it, and I've been following it intensely. So it's brilliant. It's my World Cup, you know, it only comes along
Yeah.
every 4 years.
What's
think
your
it-
business? Sorry, what's your business, Stuart?
Oh, we ain't got time for that. We ain't got time for
Right.
that, Steve. If we get into it, somebody asked me that the other day. After 10 minutes, my mate was stood there. He said, I've heard words, but I don't understand what it is you do. And I think I bring value to whatever room I'm in. So let's say that.
Okay. Yeah.
But
A
yeah,
value.
A value adder.
Yeah. A value maximizer.
Value maximizer. That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. That's it. We've sorted you then.
we all of our charisma sort of goes up a notch when you're in the room because it all just
Oh,
exudes.
Uh,
Just
no, stop.
exudes off you.
yeah. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it already. You know what, Matthew? I'm feeling it already.
Yeah.
Is Ben going to show his face? Do you reckon?
I don't know. It's one of them. You could sell snow to snowmen, couldn't you? I think that's the phrase.
That is. I think that's probably about right. Yeah.
Coles to Newcastle.
I think it's sand to Arabs, isn't it?
Sand to Arabs, yeah, sand to Arabs or snow to
Coles to Newcastle.
yeah, whatever.
You're probably not allowed to say. You're probably not allowed to say any of these things anymore. Under
No, you're not.
you know,
But in a closed circle, you can say what you like.
this is going out. This is going to be. This is recorded. It's going out.
Oh
now,
no,
mate.
you said the words now. They've been recorded. Oh God.
Oh, dear.
Cut.
Yeah. So just remind me of the value I'm adding to you now again, so I can get it on tape.
No, I was just saying that the relaunch, of Luminous, and is really I've taken a lot from our sessions and stuff, and it's really inspired me to sort of take that next step. Really, it's a bit of a scary one. I don't really, it's the horizon is looking bright, but you just never, it's also at the same time a leap of faith, right? but
the funny thing I think with SMEs is you kind of burn the bridge behind you, so you've got to go forward. You can't go backwards. So therefore, you've got to look at what's coming, and that's why it's so important to have that network you're in, I think.
Yeah, and the network itself, that has been instrumental too to
it just keeps you sane. And when you think you're going off your rocker because you're a one-man band or whatever, it just keeps you back on track.
And I've been in that situation, I've been that person which is, completely siloed, thinking I know what I'm doing, and actually nothing happens because nobody knows about you. And you can't get yourself in the world. And it's
tough. Yeah, it is tough. There's a lot of noise out there, and you've got to get above it and be seen, haven't you? So it's not easy.
But this isn't the Matty show. There's others around.
Welcome, Claire.
Look at those headphones. Were you an audio engineer?
Can you hear me?
Were you an audio engineer in a previous life? Look at that.
Yeah, maybe.
You look like a Cyberman.
Yes, look at that. Don't mess with Claire, the Cyber Queen.
Cyber Queen, love it.
That's me.
Right. So I'll assume this is it, and then we can look at personality. But I think we've already spotted personality in the preceding conversations. To be honest, I've got a bunch of slides. Now, when we did this on the leadership program, people like Matt would have done a profile. It takes about 7 minutes to do. Can I try and do this without you doing a profile? If you look in the chat, I've included the profile so you can do it. Let me just look at the chat to make sure I'm telling you the truth. There should be a little download somewhere. Yeah, it's called 30 session 8 disc. John and we're coming in. So that takes a few minutes to do, but I suggest you do that maybe in your own time. Let's just get So we've got.
One thing to note, Steve, if you've put resource in previous to somebody joining, they can't see the group chat.
Oh, okay. So
So
you,
yeah,
I put this in before the session, so none of you can see it. Right. Okay. Now that's thanks for that tip. I'm gonna have to go and.
I learned that during lockdown.
Right. I obviously I didn't learn that during lockdown, so I'm going to go and find it now. Just bear with me.
Morning, John. Morning, Fiona.
Morning.
Morning.
Right. Can you now see it? Can you now, morning all. So can you now see it in the chat?
No.
Oh, and did you put the 2 to the meeting group chat rather than to just one person?
It does say it's to the group. It does say message to Signal Engagement Leaders Academy. So it should appear as 3.0 session. Should be a PDF in your chat.
I'm personally not seeing it. So
Not seeing.
This is good, isn't it? Good start. Right, hold on. Let's go plan B then. And I'll drop a bar then. Let me try again. There's something's not working. Hold on a second. That's not right. Hold on a second. I don't know what's happened now. I've lost you on the screen now.
yeah.
I can still see you.
Right. Okay. I'm just trying to get. Yeah. Right. Well, let me just try one more time.
Or maybe Claire can send it out to attendees afterwards.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do that. Let's do that. Otherwise, we'll just lose the session.
Yeah.
Good shout. Right. Okay. So thank you, everybody. I'm going to ping up some slides now. And we're going to look at personality. And we've got a few personalities on here already, which is great. So can you see the slides, first of all?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. So basically, we're going to look at, I'm just going to minimize you guys so that I can actually see my screen. So when we look at personalities, what you look at in the mirror and what others see can be different. So this is going to be how others see you, how you might see yourself, your personality strengths, areas for improvement, and how you would operate in a team with your personalities. And then it helps conflict and resolution. So why is it important? It helps you become a better communicator. It helps you resolve and prevent conflict. It helps you appreciate the difference in others. Helps you gain credibility and positivity through influencing others. So basically, by understanding your personality and the personalities of people around you, you can adapt your behavior. You can play to your strengths. And actually, when you're in meetings, you can quickly assess an individual to work out your approach to them, basically. So that's the idea behind this. Now, please chip in. It's based on DISC profiling. So it's been around donkey's years. It was invented by a guy called Marston, who invented the lie detector back in 1912, I think it was. And it stood the test of time. So let's have a look at what DISC actually is. So each of those words stands for something. So the D stands for people who are fast-paced, outspoken, questioning, and skeptical. So a typical example of a D-type character or personality would be Alan Sugar, Sir Alan Sugar, right? Very direct, very task-orientated, doesn't suffer fools gladly, and doesn't like failing at anything. So very driven by task. So not good necessarily with people, and very direct and doesn't tolerate people. Now, what you'll find is you're a combination of these. You're not one or other. There'll be two that resonate with you and two that probably don't. If you're an I, you're typically fast-paced, outspoken, accepting, and warm. So you're more people-orientated. You're still out there in the public eye, but you're very inspirational. So that would be someone like Richard Branson. Both of these characters are very successful, but one operates in one way, one operates in another way. So they would take people with them. He's got his island. He's very much about improvement. He's very much about charisma. So I's tend to be a little bit like that. And then you come to the S's. So these people are more accepting and warm, cautious and reflective. So they're not in the public eye necessarily. They sit in the background. They're quite cautious around how they go about what they do. And this is the majority of the population are S's actually. And then you have C's, who again are questioning and skeptical, cautious and reflective, and they sit under the radar as well. So these C's and the S's sit in the background a lot of the time, and you don't see them. So we're going to take you through these 4 personality profiles. You may see yourself in this, you may see others you work with in this. And typically, if you're the top 2, you're more visual in the ether. People see you more because you're out there. If you're the C's and the S's, you tend to be behind the scenes and less obvious. People don't see you so much. If you're on the left-hand side of this diagram, you tend to be very task-orientated. If you're on the right-hand side of this diagram, you tend to be more people-orientated. Okay. So, as we've said, the D's are dominant, outgoing, task-orientated. The I's tend to be more influencers and outgoing, but they're people focused. The S's are steady, but reserved, but people focused. And the C's are compliant and reserved, but task focused. Okay, so you'll sit, probably 1 or 2 of these will resonate with you, and there'll be one that's not like you as well. And that's the person you'll have the most challenge with when you're working. So let's dig a bit deeper. So when we start to look at these individuals, you can see that 69% bottom right there of the population tend to be S's. Only 3% are D's, 11% are I's, and 17% are C's. So mostly we're dealing with the 69%. Now, if you're a D, you can see your whole demeanor is completely opposite to the S's. So they'll be the ones you have the most difficulty with. Because the D's want to get tasks completed and the S's are much more skeptical around it. And the I's will struggle with the C's because actually they're the glass half full and the C's the glass half empty. Let's make sure we do it right. And you can see at the top there, product orientated are the D's and the I's. And down the bottom there, the C's and the S's are more process orientated. So more deliberate down the bottom, more process driven. So let's look at the D personality. Does anybody identify with the D personality here at the moment? Anybody brave enough to admit to that?
Yeah, that's me all over.
Right, lovely. Well, there's no rights or wrongs to these. It's just what it is. So I think you're too friendly for that personally, but there you go.
You haven't seen me when I need something getting done, Steve.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, well, this is the great thing about this, isn't it? Okay, so who's just joined us? Someone's just joined. So I can't see who it was.
It's
Right.
Sarah
Sarah.
Bass.
Hi, Sarah.
Good morning.
How are you? We can't see you. I can't see you on the screen. I might be just
It'll come in a minute, I should think. I'm happy to just be the voice in the background.
We love the voice in the background. We love it.
Sorry, I'm late, sir. I'm late to school.
That's
Apologies.
all right. Yeah, there'll be a penalty to pay. I haven't worked out what it is yet. There will be detention. I'll work out what it is later.
Love it.
Right. So what we're doing here, just so you know, is we're just going through the personalities and trying to identify. No one's done the test today. I know you've done it with us in the leadership program.
Mhm.
So we're just looking at the different personalities and trying to identify.
Yep.
So if you're a D, typical, so let's get D personality, then typically, there you are. You're seen as assertive. This is how others see you. Decisive, direct, demanding, competitive. Okay, but that's how you see yourself, and that's your values. But the actual how you're seen by others who don't have this style is aggressive, impatient, abrupt, and insensitive. Okay, because it's all about the task, not about the people. So if you have this characteristic, just recognize that the left-hand side is your strength, but the right-hand side is how you have to get your messages through when people find you quite aggressive, impatient, abrupt, and insensitive. Okay, so you're going to have to combat that somehow to get the results you want. So here's some examples of people who are high Ds. Okay, but Alan Sugar's the prime example. My way or the highway. You know, very limited capacity for compassion with people. So if you are a high D, one of the things you can do is look at how what your strength is in a team. So if you're in a team, your strengths would be bottom line organizer, places high value on time, challenges the status quo. They're the innovators. But what's your weakness in a team is you can overstep authority. You can be argumentative. You can dislike routine, therefore get bored very quickly. And you can attempt too much at once because you want to get the task completed. Okay. So there's some challenges around improving your weaknesses, but you can see your strengths. And this, when you do this with a team, immediately you can see how this individual will add value to the team because they're quite fast paced, they get things done, but the weaknesses are that they tend to tread all over people if they're not careful. And now, if you're going to communicate with a high D, so if you've got to do business with a high D, you need to think about how you adapt your style. So if you know I've got a high D I deal with, and I find it really difficult to deal with them. So I just remind myself my best strategies, and that is to be brief, direct, and to the point. They ask what, not how. So you've got to answer the what question. Focus on the results because they're task orientated, and highlight logical benefits. They want to see, they're not interested in the person, they're interested in the benefits. And agree with facts, ideas, not people. So get the facts to them, be brief, be direct. Is the best strategy. Now, what is not going to work with them, and discuss problems in light of how they affect the outcome. Okay. So what's not going to work for them is if you don't go in prepared, if you ramble, if you repeat yourself, if you focus on the problems, not the solutions, if you're too social, they haven't got time for any niceties, and if you generalize too much and you're not specific enough, and make statements without supporting them. Okay, so you're going to get thrown out very fast if you are using the strategies on the right. So think about your clients. If you've got clients that you would identify as quite tasky, quite fast paced, and with little tolerance, just think about how you're going to go into that meeting and how you're going to present yourself to that person. Okay. Any questions? All making sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So growth areas for these individuals would be strive to be an active listener. So they tend to be very tasky, don't listen. Be attentive to others' ideas. Explain your reasoning behind why you're doing things. Appreciate the opinions, feelings, and desires of others. That would be a real stretch for this person. And be more approachable. Okay. Any questions on that? All make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So the high D in the room, whoever it was, how do they feel about that?
I think over the years, I've become less strident. I used to think that being the loudest voice in the room was a dominant trait, which meant that people would follow you, when in actual fact, you're more like the foundations that people can spring from rather than top down.
Yeah.
And
I think you're
years of banging my head on a brick wall, and then finally being a servant to people and saying, look, give me the hard job, tell me what the problem is that you need me to solve, and I
Yeah.
will facilitate that, works way better.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell. Yeah, that's really honest of you. I can think you've moved to more of a facilitator rather than a teller, haven't you? I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you've shifted probably in the way you operate, and you play much more to your strengths now.
Yeah,
Okay.
but there's
Yeah.
there I think it also comes, without rambling too much, Steve, I think
Yeah.
the problem comes when other people push against what you know where you excel, and
Yeah.
they start telling you how to do the bit that you know that you're excellent at. So
Yeah, I think. Yeah, that would annoy me as well. So I think it's about understanding the people in the room, understanding their strengths, and not taking anything off the table, but listen a bit more listening rather than than thinking they're right all the time.
yeah.
Okay. So if we start to look at understanding the eyes now, anybody who's got eye personality here? So that's basically outgoing, a bit more like a Richard Branson, a bit more flamboyant. Anybody
Yeah, I feel like I probably drop into that quarter.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is kind of where I sit between I and D. I'm very much D when I'm under pressure. I'm very much I most of the rest of the time. So so what'll happen is when you're under pressure, you may default to a different personality type to get things done. Is what I do. So understanding eyes. Let's have a look. So typical characteristics of an eye are your free spirits, you're fun loving, you're persuasive, you're charming, but people would view you as someone who interrupts a lot, quite irritating, keen to be liked at times, maybe a bit fickle, and lacking depth. And that's a bit scary, isn't it? Because actually, but it's because the glass is half full. We're quite jovial type individuals with, but we're seen as actually, lacking depth and fickle and sometimes not getting the whole picture. Okay. So just be aware that although it's great and you can play to your strengths here, just remember how other people might be viewing you. Okay. And just maybe add a bit more depth and thought before you go out to the world to combat that.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yes, it
Be
does.
me then, Steve.
Sorry. Yeah. Well, I think.
Me then.
Well, I think it's a little bit like we have an idea or it's already achieved in our heads and everybody should be on board. And why aren't you? And we don't do the explaining and the depth around it sometimes that we should do. So, yeah. So I think I like this one because it's me, obviously. So, but you have to temper it with actually backing it up with some actual depth and being less fickle. But I'll leave it there. But we're identifying ourselves in these personalities. Okay, so examples of these individuals. Typically, I would say Richard Branson is not on here, but he would be a typical example. Okay. Now, what's the team role? The strength of this individual in a team is they're the creative problem solver. They're the glass half full. They always look for a solution. They're great encouragers. They motivate others to achieve. They're positive sense of humor, and they negotiate conflict as the peacemaker. So there's their strengths. If we look at their weaknesses in a team, more concerned with popularity than tangible results, inattentive to detail, as we've mentioned before, overuses gestures and facial expressions, and tends to listen only when it's convenient. So they're quite, that word fickle, it's a little bit like a magpie. It's the next thing sometimes that they're not following through on stuff they should do. Okay. So that's the strengths and weakness of that motivation. So now if we are going to communicate well with this individual, so if you've got to sell to this individual, what's the best way? So the best way would be to build a favorable environment. So a bit of social interaction. Let them talk about ideas, let them express what they want to express. Let them do the talking. Share testimonials. They like stories about success. Allow them some social time. And write details, but don't dwell on them. They don't like a lot of detail. So just give them the basics. And create incentives for follow through as well. Okay. So that's what's going to work. What is not going to work is eliminate the social time, do all the talking, ignore their ideas, tell them what to do, and interrupt them. Okay, so does that resonate with people?
Yep.
So if you are meeting with someone like this, left-hand side is the things that will get you through the door and get the business. The right-hand side is going to alienate them. Okay. How does that feel for the eyes?
Sounds about right.
Okay.
I think it's very clear what you say. There's a couple of things there that I definitely recognise.
Yeah.
One is the part about being somebody who wants to be liked.
Yeah.
Because that can seem like weakness, and it can also seem like you're needy sometimes from your manager, if that makes sense. But if in the right environment, you put others before yourself in terms of you want everyone to do well, you want everyone to be happy, and what you're saying about, you know, building but you know, supporting others and having those ideas and, you know, generating positive feeling, I think isn't always seen as a bigger strength. So as a leader, if you can get that person on side, they will do absolutely anything.
Yeah, I think
you.
It's the new world of servant leadership where you create great people and great leaders through the way you behave and interact with them. So if you have a bit of focus around it, and in the team, these are the people that really get people fired up and ready to go on the journey. You know, Matt was talking about his new journey, being fired up and having someone around him that's really up for the journey would boost Matt's motivation immeasurably, because they're the right people to say, yeah, we can do this. So it's working out within teams to play to the people's strengths within a team, you know, and utilize them. So Matt would benefit from maybe a coach that was go, right, yeah, we can do this, and really encourage him rather than someone who's picking holes in everything he does. Okay, does that make sense, Matt?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah. So whereas a D would like holes picked in it and would like a challenge, would like to argue all day long, okay, around the nuts and bolts. So if we start to look at growth areas for this individual, then talk less, listen more. We've discussed that. Slow down your pace. We are quite fast-paced individuals. It's done in our minds. It's done. It's quick. It's on to the next thing. Consider and evaluate others' ideas. Be less impulsive. Follow through with tasks. So how does that feel as actions?
Yeah, that resonates.
Yeah. So just learning, you know, I had to learn very early on in my business life that process runs business and people run process. I had to slow down what I did and build all these processes so that I could function, because I was just like a bull in a china shop when I started out.
Yeah, I sometimes get comments where I tend, while I'm talking, ideas just, you know, come through my mind, and
Yeah.
I think that perhaps that comes across as me being slightly disinterested in what's being said or whatever, but actually really the opposite is true. And you know, I'm kind of processing at the same time as listening, and often at the same time as talking, and so it's something I'm trying to work on, because in reality I'm sort of, you know, trying to get stuff out there
Yeah.
cohesive way that with enthusiasm, but actually sometimes that might not come off.
Yeah, I think you can set the context for that with people. Say, look, when we're having a meeting, it's going to spark ideas, and I'm just going to come up with them. It's not because I'm not listening; it's because it's sparking ideas. Okay, and then I'm going to capture those ideas, but we'll stick on the top and then go back and revisit them. So I just capture them because
Yeah.
they're sparking for a reason, and you are the creative element in that conversation.
Okay. All right. That's
So-
it. That's good
so-
advice.
Yeah, so don't lose it. Just get the context for it. Yeah, it's going to spark ideas. It's not because I'm not listening, it's because what you're saying is sparking lots of thought processes for me.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool.
Okay. Right. So now we come to the S personalities. So typically, if you're an S, and remember, this is the majority of society now we're looking at, then basically they're very patient individuals, very friendly, very loyal, amiable, kind. But they can be quite indecisive, can be quite negative, because they don't like a lot of change. It's okay as it is. They may lack focus, and they could be people who sit on the fence. You know, they don't want to make a decision, and rather someone else made it. So I don't know if anybody resonates with this
Yeah.
at
I
all.
think there are so many things there that I resonate with, but as you say, it's probably because that's the broad majority of people, right?
Yeah, well, you also got a combination of these, remember. So yeah. So were you going to say something, Claire?
Yeah, I definitely fall into S. I think
Okay.
I can resonate with all of those things. I can resonate with.
Okay, well, that's honest of you. So your values on the left hand side. I think you know you're very loyal, etc. Very amiable, very patient, very friendly, and you need that in a business. But you'll be seen as maybe indecisive at times, possibly liking not to change. I would say negative is just not wanting to change, lacking focus at times, and maybe indecisive, I guess.
I'm a bit. I can see a little bit of myself in that as well.
Yeah, good. And this is just to sort of learn about yourself and how others might see you, and then we'll look at how you actually use that to your advantage. So if we start to look at examples, Mother Teresa, okay, Ted Danson, Nancy Reagan, Jimmy Stewart, Michael J. Fox, Gandhi, right? So they're all very good at what they do. They're the peacemakers. You know, Gandhi was definitely a peacemaker. Mother Teresa made a massive difference. So you can make a massive difference through the way you are. Now, if we start to look at team roles for a high S, the strengths for them in a team are reliable and dependable. You know, they're solid, they're loyal. They're great team workers because they're loyal. Compliant towards authority, so they'll do the compliant stuff, they'll get it right. Good listeners, patient and empathetic, and good at reconciling conflicts. So some real powerful strengths there. The weaknesses maybe would be these. They do resist change. They take a long time to adjust to change because they've got to process it. They could hold a grudge, sensitive to criticism, and difficult establishing priorities because there's lots at play for them. And they're deep in the process. So sometimes the process means the priorities are not, they're working on one thing and the other priorities could be more important. Okay, so just be aware of that. Then if we start to look at the best way to communicate with this person. So if you go sell to this individual, the effective strategies would be this: build a favorable environment, genuine interest in them. They ask how questions. So how are we going to achieve this? Patiently draw out their goals. Give them time to adjust to what you're saying, because actually they're processing it at a real deep level. Define goals, roles, and procedures so they know they've got a track to run on. And assure personal follow-up. Okay, so that's going to work with them. What's not going to work with these individuals and minimize perceived risk. Okay, they're not risk takers, they're risk averse typically. So what's not going to work with these people is being pushy, aggressive, too demanding, being controversial, not including them in decision-making processes. Okay, so any of that resonate?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so this is learning about yourself, but also if you're dealing with this individual, how to adjust your behavior. Now, growth areas for these individuals would be open to change, focus on overall goals, not specific procedures. You get wrapped up in all the detail, whereas as the overall goal gets lost sometimes. So just look at the overall goal, not just the procedures. Deal with confrontation constructively. Okay, don't take it personally. Actually, if there's confrontation, try and understand why that is rather than take it personally. Be direct in your interactions. Express your ideas and opinions and feelings. Show more initiative. Increase pace to accomplish goals. Okay, because very much in the process of everything. Does that make sense?
Mm.
Yes.
Okay, so if we look at C's now, anybody a C now? So let's have a look at C. So this is the wise owl. So all-knowing, cautious, cool, detached, detailed. So C typically is again task orientated, remember. So when you look at this, so they can be seen as uncommunicative. They could ignore people's feelings because they're on the task side of things. They could be slow to respond, and they can be too formal and rigid because it's all about the task. Okay. Anybody a C here? No. So you might have to deal with these individuals. So here's some examples. Columbo, he was just one more question all the time when he's leaving the room, wasn't he? Just one more question. Tiger Woods, real perfectionist. Kevin Costner, Albert Einstein. So you're in good company if you're a C. And Bill Gates. So if we start to look at the C's role, remember there's not many of these in society, about 17%. Their strengths in a team would be their perspective, the anchor of reality, conscientious and even-tempered, thorough in all their activities, defines situations, gathers, criticizes and tests information. So they really do collect all the information. They really do drill down on it through the lens of task, getting the task right. Their weaknesses to a team is they need clear-cut boundaries and actions. They get bound by procedures and methods, so they can't see the wood for the trees. They get bogged down in the detail, and they prefer not to verbalize their feelings and will give in rather than argue. So they're very much on the task, the procedure side. So if we want to communicate well with this individual, if we've got to sell to this individual, prepare your case in advance, delineate pros and cons, use accurate data, assure them there's no surprises, disagree with facts, not the person, and give patient diplomatic explanations. So this could be an accountant, for example, who's very task driven around things. And assure personal follow-up again. What's not going to work is refusing to explain your rationale, answering questions vaguely, and flying by the seat of your pants. Okay. If you go into a meeting with this type of individual with that sort of approach, it just won't work. Okay, so personal growth areas for this individual, I don't think we've got any in the room, would be a focus on doing the right things, not just doing things right. So remember the context why we're doing what we're doing, not just doing for doing's sake. Be less critical of others' ideas and methods, because you'd be quite set in your ways. Focus less on facts and more on people. take risks along with other team members, respond more quickly to accomplish team goals, and build relationships with other team members. Okay, I don't think we've got any C's in the room, have we, on here?
No.
Okay, so there's basically 4 personality types, as we've mentioned. Now, if you're a high D, you're very direct. Okay, if you are, and it's all about power and control. If you are a high I, it's more about inspiring people, and it's more about the people. If, however, you are a S, it's more about supportive, and it's more about the pace at which we do things, getting it right. And if you're an a C, sorry, then it's more about being conscientious, diligent, and it's more about procedure. So you can see that you've got elements of this, or you'll have 2 that dominate and 1 that doesn't, probably. I tend to be a D and an I, and I move more towards a D when I'm under pressure. But you'll have a mixture of these. But these are the people you'll be dealing with typically on a day-to-day basis. So, and you need them all in a team. Now, if we start to look at the D's, the D's are very direct. So they're outgoing. It's a proactive thing, as are the I's. And the S's are more supportive and then conscientious. So you've got task on the left-hand side, people on the right, and then more outgoing at the top and more reserved at the bottom. Okay, so D's want to do it the fast way, trust me. So they move at a heck of a pace. The I's, they want to do it the fun way, like me. Let's do this, have some fun on this journey. The S's do it the easy way, assure me. So I want to make sure where I'm going, where I'm headed, no surprises. And then the C's do it the best, most efficient way, inform me. So you've got 3 different styles, 4 different styles there. Okay, now the D's and the I's tend to scare the S's and C's because of the pace they work at. Okay, they're quick, they're fast, and the S's and C's are more diligent around procedure. The S's and the C's. So you might need to slow down if you're a D and an I, if you're working with a company with S's and C's, because they need more assurances and more information. Now, methods of control. D is a force of character. Let's do it. So remember, and that would be Alan Sugar. I's would be verbal persuasion. You can do it. So we're more cajoling. That will be Richard Branson, for example. And then slowing it down, we can do it, making sure you're getting it right. And then C's information. Let's do it right. So you can see again the methods of control that come through with your personalities. Now that is it. I'm just going to stop there a second, come on to main screen. So we've got 15 minutes or so. We're ahead of the game. So I'd like to find out what you're going to take away, what you've learned, what you're going to take away, and if there's anything you want to chuck around and discuss. Okay. I'll give you a couple of minutes to think about it. I'll try and get the test to you. There's a very simple, quick and easy test to work out where you sit. You pick your top 2. Your top 2 are your main drivers. If you want the slides, I'll get the slides to you as well. Okay. So do we have any questions?
No.
I have a question. Steve, the description that you're giving the DISC.
Yeah.
As leaders, we can recognize it in ourselves.
Yeah.
But I think it's how important is it to take that in terms of recognizing the people that you rely on to work with?
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, I know people use it very much in your world of recruitment to get the right task person in the role. So they look at the role and they go, right, which of these personalities best fits that role? You know, if you need someone who's checking stuff all the time, then you know exactly what personality it is. If you need someone out there shouting about the business, you know which one it is. If you need someone to be more dominant and get things done, you know which one it is. So you can kind of see with the recruitment how they used to use this religiously in the old days. I don't know if they still,
I've used it. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know if they still do, but it's just an indication. But it gives you the ability to actually work out where people best sit in a team, and maybe when you're working for yourself, like a lot of us do, who we need to bring alongside us, the yin and the yang, to, you know, I need someone who can drive process, to be honest with you, and follow up, because I'm on to the next thing. That's my challenge. I get all these leads and I don't bother following them up because I'm too busy on the next thing. So I would need someone like that to follow through for me, because actually I don't want to do that. I'm not interested. I'm on to the next thing.
And how useful do you think it is if you're working with a client? Because I recognise straight away that most of the people I work with, especially at corporate level, are Ds, out and out Ds.
Yeah,
And they're not, that's why I'm doing the recruiting and they're not. How useful do you think it is to, as part of your conversation with potential clients, to show them that you recognise where you sit?
Yeah, okay. So I think that's a great question. And the way I'd answer that is I'd use it as part of your value proposition. Look, you know, you typically, if I look at your profile, you're a high D, you're very task orientated, you want to get things done, you want results, and you've got no tolerance around people not stepping up to the plate. Okay. So where I come in and where I'm strong is I'm going to inspire them. I'm going to motivate them to achieve those tasks. And that's the sort of stuff that you don't want to do and you're not interested in. So I'm going to be your right-hand person, supporting the task will be clear, but I'm going to motivate them for you, and I'm going to get them on board, and I'm going to understand how we get the best out of them. That's how I would position it. So it's part of your value proposition. You know,
and I'm going to get Claire to be the nice person who makes sure it's done right.
Yeah, well, they probably bring you in because, you know, it's high Ds. For instance, high Ds, you know, if they're writing emails, I suggest that they stick them into ChatGPT and put a friendly spin on it, because they'll be very abrupt. Probably one line is get on with it. You know, I don't pay you to come in and waste time. There'll be stuff like that. They'll be, I mean, they won't get away with writing most of that these days, but you know what they're like, you know. Yeah. So you want someone to put a bit of less of an edge on it and actually personalize a bit more. So you're going to be their AI on that side of things. That's how I look at it. I'm going to smooth the way and make sure people follow your very task orientated way of doing things. So
you certainly can't take things personally with people. That's what you learn when you're an intermediary. Yeah,
you can't. You just got to recognize.
Really useful. Thank you. I like that value proposition, using it there. Excellent. Because it's isn't it? It's that's the thing. You're showing your own self-awareness.
Well, they'll laugh if you tell them, you're very tired. You've got no tolerance for people. Let's face it. You haven't got any time. You want to get the task done. So what you need is someone like me around to smooth it for you, inspire these people to follow, because you haven't got the patience for it.
Yeah. So the delivery is you're a D and I'm an I.
Yeah. You're a D and I'm an I, and that's it. That's how I would use it personally.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I have a question, Steve.
Yeah.
This treats all people as equal.
Yeah.
The disc profile. How does neurotype fit in with that? Because having done a deep dive recently on diversity, equality and inclusion, there's a lot that colours the base notes of this. How would you see that fitting in with a blanket, all types of people?
Well, actually, it's a great question. Well, first of all, we see everybody in our image. We think people are like us, and that's the big mistake we make quite often.
To be fair, I've never thought that. No, seriously, I look at the world and go, I must have been dropped off by an alien spaceship.
Yeah. Okay. With the exception of yourself, a lot of people think, you know, especially managers, they think, well, you know, they'll think like me. They'll do as I say. I don't understand why they behave like they behave. Okay. So that's a typical high D approach to things, let's say. Now, to your point, you need all of these personalities to make a team work. That's the first thing. Secondly, I would be very keen to make sure you've got as much diversity and inclusion in your team as possible, because you want different ideas, you want different lenses looking at stuff. And also with leaders, we're too quick off the march and we don't see the danger ahead sometimes with some of the decisions we make. Whereas if you bring a naysayer in, who's going to say, look, if we try and put this into the business, it's going to bust our business, or actually the processes won't be able to cope. You need those naysayers to, and you need to win them over so they can communicate it to the rest of the business. Does that make sense? Because transformational teams are full of D's and I's that just think it's going to happen. And then the S's and C's have to pick up all the slack and then make it work. And there's the disconnect in the culture. Because suddenly it's dumped on the business and it doesn't work. And then when it doesn't work, next week, the next idea comes down the tube. So what you need is connectivity.
So that's really interesting. Can I ask a follow-up question?
Yeah.
So I'm often drafted in by businesses that have a problem, and it may be a multi-dimensional problem that isn't just all online. And I get asked to unpick it, unpack it, and lay out, possible solutions.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I find is the leader who has asked me in is not detail orientated enough. And is not prepared to get into the weeds, which is where the problem is: the process, the people, the direction. And it's very difficult to persuade them that actually they need to be into the detail for this specific project so that they get the outcomes. How do you persuade somebody who is not at all detail orientated to interface with someone like myself, who, whilst being fairly high D, I am a nightmare, because I am going to ask all of the awkward, detail-orientated questions until I get the right solution.
Yeah, okay.
Not all Ds are like that. How do you interface with that?
Right. So again, this is part of your value proposition, I'd say. So the way I'd frame it is: process runs business, people run process. Okay, and that's how you get success in an organization. So you've got the ideas, but process runs business and people run process. If you haven't got the process to follow up your ideas as a D, basically you're going to get inefficiencies happening in your organization and you're going to get failure. I'm going to come in and provide that process, which you don't want to do. You don't want to be in the detail. You're not interested in sorting out the problem because you want to go on to the next thing. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to be the person who designs that process that supports your ideas. And with that, you'll have a winning formula. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah, I see that. There's still a struggle with people who, when you need the detail, I've got 2 customers right now. I need some detail out of them so that I can achieve for them what they want.
Yeah.
They are just not supplying it. And it's like they're getting, not arsey, but they're getting a bit impatient. Why aren't you delivering?
Right.
Every time I go back going, I need the detail.
Right. Are you dealing with the MD, or who are you dealing with?
One of them is a functionary, and I believe it's because she's too busy. That's a different problem.
Yeah, okay.
I am dealing with one of them that's the MD, and I've asked to see his sales and marketing plan, and he hasn't got one. And he has a team of 150 people. I'm like, quelle horreur.
Yeah, well, I think the answer to the question, I've got a similar situation. I'm dealing with a client that's very flighty. So you meet him, promises everything, and then getting hold of him afterwards is a bloody nightmare. So I said to him, look, I don't want to deal with you anymore. Who is the person I need in the organization to do this with? So I don't keep bothering you. Okay, name the person, and then you task them to get the information, because you're not going to get it from this guy. He hasn't got time. He's not interested. They're too busy. But there'll be somebody sitting there that you can, if you can find that person. So I found his PA. It was his PA in my situation, and I just communicate with him. I said, Tilly said this in our last phone call. This is what we're going to do. Right, I need you to organise a meeting with Tilly. This is this guy's name, because I know if I write to him or WhatsApp him or do anything, it will take him about 2 months to reply. So I don't want to deal with Tilly now. I want to deal with someone who manages Tilly, and you're the person who manages Tilly. So I'm going. If it's okay, can I deal with you? Okay. And I asked him outright. I said, who I need to talk to get things in the diary? He said, oh yes, it's so and so. So it could be a little bit of finding your the right person in the organisation. You've got the leaders brought you in, but he's no longer interested.
Yeah, I find that I almost never work with like the CEO or whoever is,
Yeah,
except for the very first few, maybe not even few, but very first conversation where, you know, I'm kind of trying to get the vision setting from that individual, and then from that point on, I'm looking for the people that are actually in the front line of, you know, whatever it is, that because they are effectively working with whatever the product is, right?
Yeah.
So they have the pain points. Whatever their problem is, it's their problem, not really the CEO's. So yeah, there's a lot to be, you know, take away from what you've just said there, Steve, in that
Yeah.
it's got to be the right people who have the most to gain from the product being, you know, more efficient for their usage, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I find anyway.
Yeah. So and if you can't, and then I think the other thing would be to point out, Stuart, if you can't do that, is to point out, get him to think about times when things have failed. You know, you've had failures. Why have they failed? Because you've had an idea and there's been no process behind it. I'm not asking you for this to annoy you. I'm asking this so we can succeed. You know, do you want to succeed with what you're asking to do? Because if you do, I need you to send me the information. It doesn't have to be you, but point me in the direction of the person who can provide it. Okay? Because you're not allowed, because you're not allowing me to succeed for you. By you not sending the information, you're setting me up for failure. And I don't want to fail.
Unfortunately, his team seem to be taking his lead. He's asked me to build a process manual.
Yeah.
And I've asked them to do a bit of a time and motion study, so at least I know what tasks I am planning for them to put into the manual. I put a timesheet together and nobody's filling it out. I've gone back to him to ask them. It's just not happening. So I'm
Right.
It's a bit of a loss, to be honest, with this customer, and it's my to solve.
Is this a bit of a red flag sort of moment? You know, I have analyzed projects in the past and kind of, you know, evaluated them for, am I actually going to be able to deliver for this client given the way they work? And sometimes I kind of do step away.
It's kind of funny because Stuart's probably been invited in because everybody else has failed, simply because the team don't respond. I would be looking, right, can I come in and sit with your team for a couple of hours to work out the best way that they would like to do it, not me, they would like to get to the end game. Because once you get their buy-in, they'll support you because they'll think it's their idea. So if you can go in and go, how are we going to do this as a team? What do we need? Come up with I want your ideas, guys, on how we're going to get to this end goal. What do you think we should do? You already know the answer, but hearing them tell you gets them to buy in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's possibly the best strategy to employ now. But thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, because if they start to come up with suggestions and ideas, they're bought in. Now they want to do it.
Buy-in. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Rather than this just being another thing you're imposing on them, which is how it's seen now, probably. Yeah.
I just have one little little thought. I know this works more with engineering than with people. It's like having a template where, you know, the people don't want to give you the detail. You give them your standard offering. You know, this is the way it's going to be, and they very quickly come back to you with all the detail they've been failing to give you.
I think he's tried that. I think he's given them a template and they've just ignored it by the sounds of it, I think.
Not only that, we've had 2 meetings, one of which I asked to see their sales and marketing plan to their newly appointed sales and marketing director, and he was crickets. It was just embarrassing. And so I scheduled a meeting with the MD, and again, he talked round in circles, but no actual action or detail or solidity.
And they got 150 staff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
3 locations, 150 staff, and he wants me to wave a magic wand and just suddenly get all these sales online.
If they're sending you round in circles and the project hasn't even started yet, you know, 3 months into a project, I don't think that attitude's going to change. I would be worried about that.
Yeah, no,
Right.
to be fair, Matt, we've parked them, and I've said when you get this information to me, we'll continue. But
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
stuck. I'm literally stuck. I can't
Well,
wave
I
a
think
magic wand and know what you do on a daily basis.
I think they're in danger of imploding as well, because if they don't get their systems and processes sorted, they'll become more and more inefficient, make less and less profit, and probably go pop if they're not careful.
Well, yeah.
Sounds like some of their problems are systematic. I think
Yeah.
don't know that you're going to go.
Sounds like they need. Sounds like they need some business game.
They do.
I think the owner actually, the problem lies at the heart of the owner, and he's comfortable. And whilst
right,
he's
okay.
comfortable, he doesn't have any reason to make any changes. So he's just thinking in his head,
Yeah.
same old, same old. If I keep what I have done, it'll work for what I want to do, and I can just add some web sales.
Yeah.
But
So I just mentioned Woolworths to him.
Not gonna work.
Just mention Woolworths.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then just see his face then. You know, you're a Woolworths business, in my opinion.
Funny you should say that. We were invited in to help with their web offering years and years ago, back when they had a big headquarters up in London, and they rejected our idea, which was snapped up by Disney.
Oh, lovely.
Oh yes.
When they went bust, I wanted to go and stand outside and go.
I love it, Stuart. Well, if they don't listen to you with that shirt on, they got no hope, mate. That's all I can say.
Definitely no hope there.
Yeah.
I think you've got to go in and be a deed, Stu. Go in there and sit down and write their marketing. Start with a baseline. They haven't got it. Assume they haven't got anything, and go in there and sit down and write it and do it.
The trouble
on site, just go in and take over.
Yeah, the trouble with that, Sarah, is I tried to do that. So I know somebody who is an awesome FD. And right now she's at a loose end, and I discussed my problems because Steve will probably agree with this. Sales and marketing is a function of the finance department. You cannot set the direction of the business until you know what the business is trying to achieve with the resources it has. So you should sit with the FD and say, what can we realistically achieve with what you've got over the next 2 to 5 years? And we went in and I had a conversation with the director, and I basically asked him, do I have your permission to bring in an outside resource to look at your finances and predict what's going to happen going forward with what resources we've got and what options are on the table? Because there's no point in going, as their production manager did,
finger in the wind.
We need to increase online sales by £2,000 a month. Right, where did that figure come from? Justified figure. That's just picking a figure. That's not a goal. That's not part of a strategy. That's just a action, and actions have to be justified within the plan. So it's lack of strategic top-down thinking. So I got in my friend, she sat there, he waffled for about 45 minutes as to why she was wrong, he was right. There's, he just wants to reduce debt, which is in preferential shares anyway. So it was hard to get to the nuts and bolts of where he wants the business to grow. And he kept saying, well, we'll add another depot but they're very hard to come by. It's like, all right, so you need a growth strategy if you want more depot, which is an acquisition strategy. We can do that. But if we're doing that, that requires a completely different approach than if we're just going to do a pure web play.
Yeah, I think.
I think it speaks to me that he's looking at exit. That's what flags me. Yeah, he wants all those little bits tied up so that he can get the best possible price. And I don't think he's really in it for the long haul.
No, to be fair, Sarah, I think you're halfway there. I think he's taken it on and he's holding the tiller of the ship until his son can take over after he's been to university and got a business degree. So I think he wants the succession plan to be that. But if he's waiting like 2-3 years for that to drop, the landscape could be entirely different in 2 or 3 years. So somebody's going to rock up on his lawn like another supplier in his niche and eat his lunch. And I've said this to him because I said it to another customer who 13 years later, Amazon has completely decimated their business.
Yeah, I think what you should say is your son's going to take over this business in 2 to 3 years. That's your plan, isn't it?
Session,
Well,
yeah.
What job is he actually going to do? Because there won't be a business.
Also, nobody comes out of university with a degree and then heads up a like major business, right?
Do they actually really want to go into the business anyway? I mean, you think they want to go in, but they might not want to actually go in.
Well, also, that's a typical family business. Put the son in, regardless of skill set.
I would just go in there and just overview, deliver something that's like, here you go, here's everything that you need, kind of, this is what I think, and put your invoice in.
Yeah, and I would go in also. I would go in also and say, you know, you're going to treble your sales, but you're going to halve your profits. So carry on, because you'll be so inefficient without these processes that you'll just be selling and selling and selling and making no money. So there'll be nothing for your son to inherit.
Interesting.
I'm almost to the point where I have found a business which had 3 additional locations for sale, and he could quite easily acquire that, rebrand it, and then he basically doubled his business. But to do that, you need a plan. We don't have plans, Dan. They didn't rock up on the beach on D-Day and went, right, Germans, what are we going to do with them? Nice plan. Sorry, I don't mean to dominate, but thank you for your inputs, and it's been a lot of the thinking is very, very chiming with what's being said. So thank you for your input.
So Stu, in that context, I know what I'd do is run. In the D-Day, run.
It takes 0 hours of my month, 0 hours, and they've got money on their account, and until they are willing to engage with it, I'm not willing to engage with it. It's their problem. They've given me.
Well,
I can only do what I can do if I'm given the tools to do it.
I've enjoyed this morning. I'm Stuart. I love the shirt and I love your energy. That's good, and good to meet you all again. Some of you I haven't seen, and some of you I have. So, any lasting thoughts before I go? Hopefully it's been useful.
Yeah,
thank you. Nugget today.
Steve, where are you located?
And where am I located? Are you talking to me or Claire? Claire, say.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah. Sorry, Claire. Carry on, and I'll go back to Stuart in a second.
Quickly say thank you very much for today. The main thing I'm going to take away is, because I'm falling in the S and I'm a little bit reluctant for change sometimes, unless I can see the benefit of it and how we get there and is it worth it. And obviously Signal's going through a massive time of change for the expansion. So I haven't always seen that as, I see myself as a positive person, but being reluctant for change, I hadn't really thought that other people maybe see that as negative. So that's something I'm really going to work on.
Good. Excellent.
You're the voice of reason, Claire.
Yeah,
you are the you just
So that's great, Claire. And and sometimes I look at that as if we get this right, I've got a long-term future. That's the other way to look at it. Anybody else? Stuart, you were going to say something just then?
I was just going to ask where you're located, Steve. It'd be good to have a cup of coffee.
Yeah, it would. I'm down Southampton, a place called Warsash, which no one's ever heard of.
I know where Warsash is. We had a member there, Terry Boutwell, photography.
Okay, so I'm quite happy to pop up to Borden Way and see you. So
when you're next up, maybe talking with Emma, you know.
Yeah, I will do.
Have a coffee and a chinwag.
Yeah, it'd be great. Well, I need to do that because I need to know what the outcome of our conversation today is as well. So
we're all waiting with bated breath.
Watch this space. I've sat before, so you know.
And Sarah, I've got to catch up with you as well. I'm aware of
100%.
that.
When you're ready, sir.
I'm always ready for you. Always ready for all of you guys.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Yeah, and I know I've got to catch up with John and Fiona at some point, so I just need to come up your way and see some
Okay.
proper people, don't I? That's what I do.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks guys for this morning. It's been great
Thanks,
having you
Steve.
on, and I think I'm on again in a fortnight. Got no idea which one I'm doing in a fortnight because I don't plan anything, do I? No, Stuart.
Don't forget to send us the PDF via.
Yeah, I will do. Who do I send it to? You, Claire? Do I send?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is
Okay.
me, yeah.
All right, smashing guys. Thanks very much.
Hey,
Cheers.
have a great
Bye.
weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.